Minister Morneau, a few days ago in Argentina, Prime Minister Trudeau shared his vision for what gender-based budgeting looks like. He said, and I quote, "Looking at how every different decision can have an impact on women in a positive or negative way, even big infrastructure projects, what does a gender lens have to do with building this new highway or this new pipeline or something? Well, there are gender impacts when you bring construction workers into a rural area. There are social impacts because they're mostly male construction workers," quote. What exactly are the nefarious gender impacts the Prime Minister implies these mostly male construction workers bring into a rural area? I can tell you what I see as the impact of construction workers in a rural area, Minister. I see projects like pipelines providing jobs for hardworking, tax-paying construction workers in the rural areas in my province of Saskatchewan. Those male and female construction workers build their families in our local communities. They contribute to and sustain our local economies and indeed the entire Canadian economy. We want more construction workers in Saskatchewan's communities, not less. Minister, can you please explain what in the world the Prime Minister was talking about when he painted all male construction workers as a hazardous to women?
Senator Morneau.
I'm happy to answer that question, and I think there were a couple of questions embedded in there. First and foremost, of course, one of the most fundamental things that we look towards in ensuring that our country is doing well is that people are employed, that we have jobs. So that was one of the very big challenges that we faced when we came into office. We had a 7.1% unemployment rate in Canada back in 2015. We're now in a position, of course, where we've been able to work together with Canadians and create about 550,000 new full-time jobs over the last 3 years, meaning that our unemployment rate is now at the lowest it's been in 40 years. So that's a very positive situation for Canadians across the country. Our goal, of course, is to have positive employment situations in every part of the country, and that's something we need to work to continue to do. With respect to how we go about making investments, we've come to the conclusion that we need to make sure that all Canadians experience positive outcomes as we make investments. So we're looking carefully at how we can ensure that women have positive outcomes from the kinds of investments we make in our economy. That's why we put in place a gender-based approach to budgeting. In the case of infrastructure, a good example would be we may well put in place an approach where we look at an infrastructure project and say, what are the differential advantages of this project for women versus men? Public transit might be a good example where it could have positive impacts on women. The kinds of things we might consider are how you might actually put in place a subway station to ensure that there's appropriate lighting so that it has similar impacts on women and men. So these are important analytical tools that we've taken in order to make sure that we're considering how our investments impact different parts of the population. And among the things that we'll consider is those impacts to give us a roadmap on what we should do and the kinds of investments we should make to ensure that we continue with the positive success we're seeing. And I would add that one of the things that we've seen while we've increased the employment of Canadians is increased participation rates for women as well as part of that positive outcome. That we know is part and parcel with our approach to considering the differential impacts on different parts of our society.